So let's talk about it real quick because I've been seeing a lot of stuff, and I think this is one of those topics that it gotta be a facts over feeling. It gotta be a facts over feelings. You know what I mean? So, and y'all gotta let me know if y'all agree with me. We gonna get into this reflection real quick. All right. So the question becomes, and we see this all the time, is like there's this new argument. Not new. It's been an approaching argument for a while now, when women are getting like attacked out there in society. And now you start to see these videos being made to further the flames of this gender war, to be like, how come these men are not protecting women? And so now the conversation has become, I seen some videos where women were like, yo, well, what is the expectation? Like, okay, so the role of the man is to protect the woman. And then the lady was like, okay, well, then what is the role of the woman? Right? Which inevitably she was saying is to respect the man in order to get said protection. Now, we can sidebar that conversation for now. The high level that's important that people are always forgetting, because the and I don't care from situation to situation to situation, those things don't matter to me. It's the root of why these things happen in the first place, right? So the reason, and I'm talking about society, I ain't got to speak for all men. I'm speaking on the psychology of society and the way society, right, creates these issues. When you effeminate and emasculate the men of a society, they no longer take on the traditional roles, right, of the masculine man. The most traditional role, two of them, is protecting. People always say protect because a woman got to feel safe around you, and providing. Protection is the most traditional role. So when society jumps out of and is on a heavy attack about patriarch, a heavy attack about masculinity, a heavy attack about traditional roles. And I'm just saying what the cause and effect is. Whether you agree with it or not, that's not the issue. The thing is, you can't have a society that is constantly talking about toxic masculinity. Niggas ain't shit. Be independent. You don't need a man for nothing, and we don't believe in gender roles, and masculinity is toxic, and at the same time think that that won't change the dynamics in society. These men are emasculated now. These men are effeminate. These men do not stand up. These men are not moving like that, and these women are disrespecting these men because that's the narrative. Fuck these niggas, I don't need them for nothing. So it's like the reality, because this is a facts over feelings moment, because the reality of it is you got to think about, like, why does it happen? That's where I always go. I don't care about the, like, you got to get out your feelings and say, why is this happening? Because you got to get to the root, right? So you can't have a society where the women are actively creating campaigns that say, we don't fuck with y'all niggas, but then in the situations we want y'all to behave like great men, respectable men. That's the reality of the situation from a high level standpoint, right? And we never have conversations about protection with each other. Media is a $11 trillion business per year. So when I say society, media informs society and controls society, right? Not one person can change that. So it don't matter. It's not about ignoring a fact. I'm telling you what things are. And it's not just that, and this is where you got to get it, because the nuance goes in like black communities, brown communities, Asian, white communities, right? So when you say you're ignoring the fact that the women have put these tolls on men, because not all, see, and when you create blanket statements like that, it does nothing to progress it and make it better. Positive reinforcement is always good, because right now, when you got things like Love and Hip Hop as shows that we like, when you got the Sexy Reds and the Sukianas, and this was an image that they put out, white supremacists used to put out, to make the black woman look like the harlot or the hoe, to disrespect her, to put her on a low totem pole, to justify his behavior towards her. It was a dehumanization. And we dehumanize each other all the time now, and we act like each other's oppressor. So I'm not saying whether it's not about whether I personally agree whether this is good or bad. I'm just saying this is the cause and effect of society, right? Creating these gender wars, flaming these gender wars, pushing us on different sides of the spectrum. Because you do understand that there has to be law, right? And one of the law in the code is that, okay, men protect women and women respect men. That's a give and take relationship, right? That's just a natural give and take relationship. Even the most masculine man, and one that is a traditional protector in that role, a God body that see issue and he gonna want to jump in. He might think for a second if that woman just completely disrespected him. He might think for a second. He might still go act, but I'm just saying that this is reality. The same way a woman ain't helping no man that disrespect her no matter what. She not helping that man in no situation. That man disrespect her at all, she done. Now think about what's the general feeling. So there has to be a remoralization. There has to be a re-celebration of the things that we want in the codes, and we have to have a level of accountability so that we can really have longer, nuanced conversations about these things. So when you have the women's movement and the men's movement, no, they have to be together and having conversations about, all right, how do we go about creating the respect and the protection? Right? And then because men are divided as well, because you got to understand that men are not like the women's movement. Men don't really have a men's movement going on for real, be honest with you. Men are not goddamn grouped up and holding and having each other back. So a lot of these men feel like, damn, in a society where if I step up, somebody has my back, then it's going to make him more willing to step up. This is the reality. Even a cop won't run into a situation without backup. That's just the reality, because then he's going to think about the sacrifice versus the duty. So somebody say, what is a man's movement? We live in a patriarchy. Now listen, you can say we live in this patriarchy and all of this shit that you want to, and this is a reality. We live in a white patriarchal intellectual system where it's ruled by his mind and psychology, thought process, and constitution, right? But I'm talking about men having each other back. I'm talking about Black Panther type movies. I'm talking about Nation of Islam type movements, right? I'm talking about where they moving as an army. I'm talking about even in the streets, people used to move in a collectivism, right, together. This is why men join gangs. They want protection. They want safety in numbers, right? This is the reality. So get out your feelings and get into some facts. So society has individualized us. So you may have one man that will stand up 100% out the group, but he on his own nowadays because the rest of them are soft. So we don't have a brother and sister movement anymore. We don't have oh, that's my sis. Oh, that's my brother. We not treating each other like brothers and sisters. Brothers are not treating each other like, there's no brotherhood. There's no sisterhood. You can't show me that that's the cultural reality that we're now embarking on right now, is brotherhood and sisterhood. Who gonna have your back when you do something? And this part is and this is why you gotta have conversations that go to the root so that you can understand, because you have to create the confidence that when people play their role, they're not being sacrificial lambs. You gotta have the confidence reinstored. Like, nah, listen, this is code and everybody's following this code. And if you do stand up, not only somebody will follow the code if there's an issue, might get you a lawyer, might get you bond, might help you if you step in a situation and somebody try to retaliate against you, may ease the conflict resolution. Without a community, you become a lone wolf. And everybody, I'm telling you, in a society where these men are emasculated, can't fight, barely can shoot, right? Or are afraid of everything happening, afraid of goddamn being counseled for just saying words nowadays, right? This is a lot of fear that is constantly being thrown. It's everywhere. It's fear, fear, fear. Don't say this. Don't do that. Don't think about this, right? Don't wear this. Oh, you can't say nothing about this group. We don't even really want to hear your thoughts. You can't tell me you really want to hear a man's thoughts. So these young men, these men nowadays, they not operating like 19 keys. Not all of them. That's the rareness. This is why I've been able to have a platform, is because it's a necessity. We know this. Come on now. We gotta start having more truthful conversations that get to the facts, so that we can start celebrating the things that's necessary. There has to be rites of passage. Like every society where men are protectors, those men go through rites of passage. Think about that for a second. Rites of passage. That they are preparing themselves for the world. So we got to stop being an emotional people, because this is how we're manipulated and creating a further divide. And you take a step back and be like, all right, I understand why this is happening. This is a systematic issue. This is not a you niggas ain't shit issue. Like, this is a societal problem. And it's not just the black man's problem, because it ain't just our culture where the men are being emasculated. No, men of all different spectrums are being emasculated. That's the reality. I see it everywhere on all spectrums. You want this TikTok generation that's sitting there they sit there in their living room skinny as hell making dances all day. That's who you think are protectors? I was having a conversation with Erica Ford, because she was talking about when Supreme and Tupac was creating this code for the streets. And it was like, that was a completely different era of men. People that follow different codes and laws. Completely different era. Like when I grew up, men had to get trained before they can even go out. Like before you go into a security job, you gotta go get a security license, right? Most people would never hire you for a bodyguard job unless you like big and you super trained, right? So like, if there's no training, there's no protection. Not any good protection anyway. Shit, he gonna stand in front of buddy that's messing with you, get knocked out in front of you. That's not protection. He tried, but that wasn't no protection. You know what I'm saying? And last time I checked, they ain't giving out brownie points. I ain't never seen nobody get praised for getting knocked out. Ever. You get made fun of. As if everybody's supposed to win every fight, which is crazy as well. It's another mentality that men become emasculated if they ever lose. So this is afraid of losing in front of the world. They ain't got that courage to stand out there. You know what I'm saying? When I was always taught, it's the heart that makes you a man. It's not even the winning, it's the heart to get in the fight in the first place. So, you know, and growing up, you know, when I was younger, that was the first jobs we worked. We worked security jobs, you can tell. And we used to have to all do boxing training on Mondays and Saturdays. We would do militant drills. We would have to do different exercises. We would learn different moves. We would do so many different things to instill that confidence in oneself. So in a situation, you're not overreacting and you're not creating more of a situation because you're scared. So look around in society from a perspective of like, why are they like this? Why are they not physically fit? Why are they not mentally and spiritually and financially fit? Right? And address the root of issues rather than the fruit of issues. Because the root actually starts to change and solve the problem. You know what I'm saying? That's all that is. And that's why I don't jump in a lot of these conversations. There's always some viral issue going on because nobody's talking about the root because they don't know how to think. And that's the reality. And they think they do. And they just get angry and frustrated like a little kid. And all they do is keep going on the same pathway of thought over and over and over, making them more angry because they like, I just don't get it. That's your problem. Don't speak on things you don't understand. The moment you get online and say, I don't get it, yes, I understand that. This is why you're not qualified to speak on it, because you should do more thinking first. You should do more research. You should get to a level of understanding, because there's no change without doing that. You can't go in the streets and try to cause conflict resolution without an understanding of the root problem. So I want us to stop this clownish behavior that we got when we start talking about things and addressing things without getting to the root, because we actually making things worse. We actually making things worse, and you can't demonize a whole set of men the same way you can't demonize a whole set of women. That only furthers the divide. You have to have understanding to start producing change. You know what I'm saying? And I know the solution is definitely partnering with our women. Our women are incredible. Women are doing amazing, incredible things. Like, they taking over industries. They're breaking records. They're putting themselves into great, masterful positions. But as they start to rise, it starts to create a divide. And that's the worst thing. Think about the words of Malcolm X. Think about the words of our leaders of the past about the tools of the devil and how he use them against us. Man, isn't this reality a reflection of their warnings? So when you go out there and you're not utilizing the knowledge and utilizing the understanding of saying that, yeah, man, this is what they warned us about. That was the whole point of educating us in the first place. You can almost hear his words. They divide the family. That's what they do. They break you down. They raise her up, put her in a position. Now she's looking down on you. Now she doesn't want to be with you. She's not thinking about what got you here and all the years of oppression. She's just thinking about the fact that now she has been selected. She no longer wants you. So now she's stepping outside, right? Come on now. You can hear them talking and breaking this down. We know the game. But anyway, man, I had that thought on my mind. I'll get to some of the other ones later on during these are my my podcast, my Uber podcast.